Today, we are digging into a huge economic puzzle, one where a policy that's supposed to help the American economy seems to be doing the exact opposite. So, what is going on here? Let's get into it. All right, our story kicks off with a tech giant, NVIDIA. They're the world's biggest chip maker, and they got caught right in the crossfire of the US-China trade war. You see, after the US government blocked them from selling their top-of-the-line chips to China, NVIDIA spent a fortune creating a slightly less powerful version just to comply with the new rules. But here's the twist. After the US basically said China could only buy the B-team technology, China's response was a simple, "Nah, we're good." They decided to just build their own advanced chips instead. So who ended up losing out? The American company. NVIDIA's stock took a nosedive. And believe me, this was not just a one-off thing. And that really brings us to the core question, one that's way bigger than just a single company. We're seeing this same pattern play out across the entire economy. Tariffs were supposed to be this protective shield for American industry. So why in the world are they backfiring so badly? Okay, so to really get what's going wrong, first we have to do a quick refresh on how tariffs are supposed to work in theory. So what even is a tariff? Honestly, it's not as complicated as it sounds. It's just a tax. It's a fee that the government slaps onto products that are coming into the country from somewhere else. And the logic on the surface seems pretty simple, right? Step 1, you tax the imports. That makes the foreign stuff more expensive. Step 2, that naturally encourages people like you and me to buy the stuff made right here at home. And then, step 3, our local businesses grow, American jobs are safe, and money stays in the US economy. It sounds like a perfect plan. Well, here's where the story takes a turn, because when we stop looking at the theory and start looking at the cold, hard data, that simple story just completely falls apart. What's happening in the real world is a totally different picture. I mean, look at this. The theory says we should see fewer imports, a stronger dollar, and more jobs. But the reality? We're still importing a ton, the dollar is actually getting weaker, and job growth has slowed way down. On almost every single metric, we're seeing the exact opposite of what was supposed to happen. First up, the dollar. Instead of getting stronger, it took a massive hit, dropping 7% in just the first half of 2025. Now, this isn't just a little wobble. It's the single biggest drop we've seen since the 1970s. And that's a huge red flag. It signals that global confidence in US economic policy is falling. Second, just look at the cash flowing in. The government pulled in a staggering $100 billion from these tariffs. That's double what it collected last year. Now, what does that huge number actually tell us? Well, it proves one massive point. Americans haven't stopped importing. We are still buying tons of foreign goods. We're just paying a giant tax bill to do it. And maybe the most alarming piece of data is about jobs. Yeah, the initial reports looked good, but when the numbers were revised, they told a really grim story. Job growth basically slammed on the brakes in May and June. This is the complete opposite of the promise to protect and create American jobs. So this brings us right back to that big question. Why is this all happening? Well, the answer lies in a really common misunderstanding about who actually ends up paying for a tariff. So who foots the bill? It's not foreign companies, not really. The cost gets passed on directly to two groups right here at home. US consumers, that's us, paying higher prices for things in stores, and US businesses themselves. And that second point is absolutely crucial. See, a huge chunk of what America imports aren't the finished TVs or sneakers you buy. They're what economists call intermediate goods. Things like computer chips, steel, car parts, the essential components that American factories need to build their own products. So when you tax those parts, you're actually making it more expensive for American companies to compete, which ends up hurting our own economy and costing jobs. And the crazy thing is, this isn't some new, shocking revelation. This is a painful economic lesson our country has had to learn more than once. We have absolutely seen this movie before. You can just look back through recent history and see this same pattern of unintended consequences play out again and again. In the 80s, tariffs on sugar made it so expensive that Coca-Cola famously had to change its classic formula. In 2002, steel tariffs that were supposed to help steelworkers ended up costing way more jobs in industries that use steel, like car manufacturing. And of course, the 2018 trade war just led to higher prices for everybody. So let's bring this home. Enough with the big picture economics. What does all of this abstract policy actually mean for your wallet? Well, What's different this time around is just the sheer scale of it all. The current tariffs are much higher, averaging around 19%, and they cover a way bigger slice of everything we import. And the result of that? The hit to the average family's budget has jumped from around $500 during the last trade dispute to an estimated $2,500 today. That is a five-fold increase. It really creates this painful squeeze. It's a double hit. You, the consumer, are paying more for everything on the shelf. And at the exact same time, the American companies that employ people are also paying more for the basic materials they need to run their business. Everyone's getting squeezed. And all of this leaves us with a really tough final question to think about. Look, economic policies always have trade-offs. There's no easy answer. But when a policy that's designed to save jobs consistently ends up costing them, it forces you to ask, how are we even measuring success? Because the scariest part is that the true, full consequences of all this, they might be like a volcano, just boiling right below the surface.